welcome everybody to another edition, week 14 of Swim Bike Run Alabama. We're brought to you by Straight to L, our major sponsor here in Huntsville. If you're looking for a place to go have a good local beer, a craft beer.
Great local beer.
Well, I'm going to say fantastic. We call it the best beer known to man.
In the universe, at least.
In the universe. And as soon as we get a six-pack snuck on the shuttle.
I think Matt's supposed to show up a little bit later.
Well, okay. So, yeah, go over and see the good folks at Straight to L and thank them for sponsoring this program. I'm Parker Edmondson. Of course, I'm here with my co-host, Ironman Doug Tinkham. And,
I'm the Iron Boy. You're Iron Man.
Well, you're plenty iron, my friend. We have Chad Emerson once again with us. Chad was here last week, and he's here again to talk to us about all that's happening with downtown Huntsville. Chad, thanks for being here.
Hey, great to be back.
Last week, Chad, you talked to us about what's going on downtown Huntsville. Now every Thursday and Friday, live music.
Every Thursday and Friday, starting in June, live music all around downtown for free.
And how will they do that? How will they set up?
So Thursday nights, we set up the live music on the West Side Square, the steps that lead down into Big Spring Park East. We call it the Thursday night jam session. So it's a lot of local bands there. And then on Friday evenings, we're having the art walk, the newly constituted art walk, and we'll have live roving buskers there. So
a busker would be?
A busker would be someone who plays for tips. So enjoy their music and tip them well.
Funny you should bring that up. We too play for tips.
All right.
Well,
come on down on Friday night.
Doug, you usually dance for tips. So is that the same thing? Are you picking up an instrument? Yeah.
That's nasty.
Okay, all right. So yeah, we're going to have these the bands come in. It's always entertaining to come down to Huntsville and spend the day or the weekend. One of my favorite places though in downtown Huntsville is the farmers. Well, that's work, Doug. That's not fun. Is the farmers market that you have? Tell us about that.
So on Thursday evenings, the Green Street Market is put on by Church of the Nativity, which is right there next to the downtown square. And we really call it an artisan market in the sense that you have a lot of great farmers with a lot of great product. It's no resellers. It's all grown by them. But there's also a lot of artisans. You can get gourmet popsicles. You can get gourmet hummus. You can get other handcrafted goods. You know, these soaps made that are really, really locally sourced. And so it's really turned into one of the artisan markets anywhere in the state of Alabama.
Yeah, fantastic place to go. You know, I like to go and get local honey. I like to get the local vegetables. I like to get the local artisan soaps that are made, and you can get all those things there. One thing that you can find too, I think you told me, and I didn't realize it was there, are the bikes that you can get.
Yeah, so this is really, really cool. Regions, the iconic advertising bikes, they donated their 10 or 12 bikes to us, and so we partner with Green Street Market. So if you go to Green Street Market during the regular hours, typically 4 to 8 for most of the year, you can borrow a bike for free. Just give us your license or credit card, sign a waiver, so if you steal the bike or you crash it, you're going to cover us for that. But otherwise, if you just go ride it, enjoy Twickenham, Old Town, right around the square, ride wherever you want as long as you're back by 8, and it's completely free to do. And you can do a group ride. So if there's 4 or 5 of your friends, get together and come on down to Green Street and borrow a bike for free.
And there's a lot of places, I believe, downtown where they're bike-friendly lanes in the road, so it's safe to go through the 5 Points area and look at that architecture over there. I see a lot of folks running downtown as well.
We've run downtown.
Well, I jog and you run, but yeah, it's a great place to spend time. What's on the agenda for later on this year as far as food trucks?
Yeah, so that's really become something special here in Huntsville. We call it the street food gatherings. We have food trucks, food trailers, and then some vendors under tents. And we didn't know what to expect at first, and so we put on 100 showed up, put on another, and now we're up to several thousand. So we close all of Church Street, have live music. The Von Braun Center puts on a local craft beer garden, all kinds of beer, all kinds of food. And the thing about these food trucks is, you think about maybe the old-fashioned food trucks, the stale turkey sandwich at the construction site. This is all different. These people are cooking to order right there on the side, and these are artisans. These are mobile restaurants, and so you can get some things that you just can't get anywhere else. Sriracha tacos by the Food Fighters Restaurant. I mean, that's a really excellent dish, no matter where it's cooked.
Well, you get cupcakes, local. These folks are great artisans, as you say, in providing food. Yeah, Doug and I think went, or some friends of mine and I went to one of the food venues last year, and there must have been 1,000 people there by Big Spring Park.
Yeah.
And what a great place to hang out. If you've got an hour or two, hang out in the sun there at Big Springs, that's got to be a unique feature for downtown Huntsville as well.
I say that I swim, bike, and run so I can go to food trucks and local beer places. So that's the
Excellent.
trade-off. So
Well, that's, I think we
You're
all
right
do
in the
that.
right show.
we got them all downtown.
Yeah. Well, listen, we appreciate you coming in. Again, Chad, how do folks get on your website and your social media?
Downtown Huntsville, all spelled out, downtownhuntsville.org. And then on Twitter and Instagram, Downtown HSV, and of course on Facebook. Lots of activities, everything you need to know on Facebook, website, or those Twitter and Instagram.
Okay, Chad, thank you for being
Thanks,
here.
Jeff.
We'll be back after these messages.
Thanks. All right, thanks guys.
Well, that's how the unprofessionals do it. we just go with it.
That's
Thanks,
fine.
man.
I would
She
say,
was
I can't
okay.
commit,
She was
so I
on the
don't know if I'll be
fence.
here.
You pushed her off the fence.
Is it race day
I have
only?
that effect.
Wow.
What's that?
Is it race day only, or does it require prior?
Oh no, we can hug anytime.
Welcome back, everyone, to another segment of
Bike Run,
Run Alabama.com.
Brought to you by Straight to Ale.
Who else do we have as a sponsor?
Red Bull. Enjoying one. In fact, mine's empty. I need to get one at the next break.
Gives you wings.
It
It's
gives
empty.
those wings. You know, we got Allie in the studio again, Allie Meeks from ReadySetSweat.net. And she's going to talk to us, as always, about swim-specific exercises and such.
She gave us a little preview last week.
Yeah, she said tubing.
She said, get a cooler of beer,
Yeah.
a tractor tire inner tube,
Find a nice warm creek.
find a creek.
Off you go.
There you go. That sounds like the best swimming info yet.
That does sound like good training, but even better training than that is something that's been in use for a long time in the swimming community, but is virtually unknown in the triathlon world, which is called tubing. And it is basically surgical tubing, or that's the same type of tubing that you use. That's about a half an inch to half an inch to a quarter of an inch in diameter, and it's stretchy. You've probably seen it at the gym. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
And a lot of meth bust. There's a lot of that around. So
You
are
see
you
a lot of
saying
those,
now
Parker?
that meth busts, those guys aren't cooking meth? They're
Training
they're
for swimming.
Oh, what a great defense.
How would you know that?
I represent people. Who
I thought you were
You
going to go
can't tell you.
catheter.
yeah.
You went meth.
Oh, a big catheter. That's tough too.
Well, we use these for only healthy related things. We use
Okay.
tubing. And
Tell us
tubing-
about the tube.
Yeah, it can come in several different sizes, and you see it at the various
What do we
sports
do with
stores.
it?
Well, you're going to stretch it, and strengthen your muscles. So what you want to do is you want to buy some
Oh,
of
I
this
thought you were talking
tubing,
about tying it around your feet.
and
when
then
when
swim.
you do the.
That's one thing you can do with types of tubing. The type I'm talking about, you use on dry land to do strength training for swimming. So you can get it at various sports stores, or you can buy it online. I can give you a link to a website that does that.
Is
And
it solid or is it just?
It's hollow.
You know, she's
Oh,
talking
it's
about those stretchy tubes.
Stretch cords. A lot of people would call
Yeah.
it stretch
Okay.
cords. Yes. And you want to either hook it in the door, but the opposite side of the door. So don't let the door open and smack you in the face. You got to
I
put
have
it
Brian like that
the
one.
right side of the
Yeah.
door, telling you from experience. And you can get different kinds that have different paddles or hand holds on the end. And they come in different weights. You can get a 10 pound, a 20 pound, a 30 pound in terms of tension. So you want to start with something that seems reasonable, like a 10 to 15 pound to start off with, and then work up to the 30 pound. And what you're going to do with it is you're going to lean over and bend over at your waist with your arms out forward. So the top of your body is almost going to be parallel to the floor. And as your rear end is kind of poking out like you're doing a squat, so you're standing there. And you're going to pull your swimming pull just like that, holding the tubing paddles, pulling back using your swimming freestyle pull.
This is going to be an excellent question, Doug.
Let's
please
hear it.
hold your breath.
Can you get a video
It's
on
only
my
taken
website?
14 weeks, but I'm going to ask this. Is there a video or is there anything on your website
How did I
that
know
we
you were
talk
going to
about?
ask
We can make one right now. Brian, you got any tubes?
this? We can get, yes, I will put a video of me doing tubing on
cool.
the website. Yeah.
You know, now that you said that, and I realize, and I've seen it at a bunch of races where folks will bring these to an event where you don't get to swim to warm up, and they'll have that exercise, and they'll do that pre-swim on a triathlon?
It really approximates the feeling that you have in the water when you're pulling. And of course, in swimming, there's an acceleration through the water. So as you start your hand through the water, as you get closer to the finish part of the pull, it accelerates. So there's more power that you're generating. And the tubing inversely does the same thing, because as you're pulling, it gets harder to push as it stretches out more. So it's a really good, it's challenging you when you're most tired, as an example.
Your form when you're doing that, I know you're going to have this on your website soon, but I mean, how do you, and you were demonstrating the stroke when you get closer to your waist, I mean, do you maintain the correct pull position with your hand? How do you do that?
With tubing, you want to push all the way through past the hip, so you're going to push to a straight arm. In swimming, you want to exit the water with your hand, your arm just slightly bent. So there is a little bit of a difference there in tubing versus actual swimming. You want to push it all the way through in the tubing to a straight arm, so you're working your tricep.
And you don't want to do that swimming?
You don't want to push completely to a locked out arm in swimming. You want it to be slightly bent when you exit the water. Yeah.
All right, so you're not extending the full length of your arm.
Can
You're
you lay
almost
down and
going.
do that?
You're almost to the extension. Just that there's no propulsion once you've locked your hand out. So you're
So
pushing
you're
through.
not going any further. You can't go
Yes.
any further just by your body dynamics.
Can you lay down and do this? Or-
Tubing, yeah, you can. In fact, the website
Like
that
on
I
the
was
couch?
speaking of, they're not a sponsor, but it's haloswim.com, spelled like an angel's halo, haloswim.com. They sell tubing of various sizes and weights, and they also sell a bench. If you really want to get into it, you can get a Halo bench that has a template on the front that will keep your arms in the right position as you pull through. And they're a great company. I know the guy that owns it. It's just a fantastic guy.
So when we're looking on your website for these exercises, and you're going to show us now soon, you can also have a link maybe to Halo?
Sure, we can do that.
Man.
Yeah, and you can use a weight training bench as well. It works
Okay.
the same as the Halo bench, except the Halo bench has that added benefit of the template at the front of the bench and some other cues they have on it.
Now the tubing that you use, it's only going to be for that one motion, or are there other exercises that you use with the tubing?
You could use other strokes. You could do backstroke, breaststroke, butterfly. In fact, good training for freestyle is to go ahead and use the butterfly pull, which is very similar to the freestyle pull, except it's both hands at the same time. So when I do tubing, I will alternate, say, 20 full pulls with a butterfly pattern, and then 20 freestyle, and back and forth. It's just a different way.
Have you ever tried it in the water?
Tubing in the water? Well, that's something swim coaches do use, actually the opposite way around. They hook you to the tubing, you stretch it out, and then you swim as fast as you can into the wall, and it approximates race pace. It's really fun. Have you done that?
I've tied my, had one of them deals you hook your feet to.
Oh, that kind of tubing.
Yeah,
okay,
or
so
you
what
can
he's talking
swim.
about is where you put it around your ankles to keep you from kicking. Is that what you're saying?
Nah, I've done that too.
Okay.
No, this is something I got off Amazon where you can swim in a pool without having to turn.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you're talking about swimming in place. Yeah.
Yeah,
there's lane gainer. Same
if
guy.
you think a treadmill's bad, swimming in place in the pool makes a
boring.
treadmill seem great.
Yes, well, the same guy, Halo Swim, is also a company called Lane Gainer. Same company, they sell, or similar company, same guy, they sell those where you can do that. It can be boring, but if you set up
It's hard
some
to breathe.
sets, yeah, it's a little bit different than swimming in the pool, but you can
It's
set up
easy to
some
drink pool water though
time
with one of
sets.
those.
Yeah, it seemed like if you're tethered to something,
Yeah.
your feet, that
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to raise up out of the water enough to get a right breath.
But it's good
strange.
training for folks that don't have access to a pool.
Yeah.
That it's if you can do something more consistently, you're going to do better at it.
So we got consistent weight training last week, consistent tubing this week. I can't wait to see what you got or hear what you got for us next week. Listen, Allie, we appreciate it. Everyone goes to her website,
What?
readyset.net.
.net?
And Allie, we'll see you next week.
I'm so
See you then.
proud of that. We know it now.
In unison.
Welcome back, everybody, to another segment here on Swim Bike Run Alabama. We're sponsored by Straight to L, right here in Huntsville, Alabama. We're on WTKI in Huntsville and WEKI in Decatur. This segment, not only are we sponsored by Straight to L, but we have
We got him here.
We've got Matt Broadhurst here from Straight to L. And Matt, thanks for being here today.
As always, it's a pleasure.
Matt, I've got something I'd like to ask you about, and that is this insane concept or idea or law in Alabama that you cannot sell beer at your microbrewery.
Yeah, it's so we can't sell it to go, to clarify. We obviously we can sell pints. You guys have been there. You guys have bought beer from us. So in Alabama, one of only 2 states that you can't have off-premise sales left in the country. So right now there's some legislation trying to get passed that will allow us growler sales. For us, again, talking about our tours, on Saturday, we get a lot of out-of-towners that they want to take something to go. They come in. Most of them can do it where they're from, so when they come in, they're confused. As soon as you're like, "Can I buy this?" They're like, "No."
Leading the nation.
Yeah.
Backwards thinking.
So they get this look on their face like, "Why?" I'm like, "Antiquated laws."
Yeah.
It's what it comes down to. We're behind the rest of the country when it comes to brewing laws. We're catching up. We're getting there. Ideally, they'll pass it this year. The deal for us as a small brewery is it's income for us. It's income for us. It allows us to hire more people to help us brew, help us work the tap room, help us in sales, and then it's more taxes to the city and state.
Well, exactly. I mean, someone's going to pay taxes on that purchase, and so you have that revenue generation for the city and for the state. You're collecting the tax to give to the government.
Oh yeah, and that was kind of the same thing we ran into when we tried to pass the ABV restrictions up to 13.9. The state was like, "Oh, there's going to be children drinking in the streets, this big alcoholic beer," and we're like, "Well, kids aren't going to buy a $15 bottle of beer. They're going to buy the 24-pack of Keystone or whatever the cheapest thing they get." But so once they saw that didn't happen, you saw this shift in legislature. Like, "Oh, those guys are paying us a lot of money in taxes."
Well,
So they get behind you a little bit. The city here, Huntsville, you couldn't ask for guys to get more behind you. Especially with the Stone expansion and all that. Those guys are, the mayor, everybody else is just 100% behind growing the craft brew community here locally, and that lends itself to more credibility with the state. When they see the local guys getting behind it, they're like, "Okay, well, these guys are behind it. There must be something to it."
Well, I mean, it's a simple concept or a simple thought is that Straight to Ale brings people into Huntsville.
Yeah.
People will come to Huntsville, Alabama to go to Straight to Ale and check out the brewery there and the other microbrews in town. And so the city understands that folks will take a day trip or a weekend trip just to come here for breweries.
Yeah, we actually had a couple stop by, not yesterday, the day before, and they walked up to the door and it was like 11 o'clock in the morning, and they're like,
It was
man."
12 o'clock somewhere.
Well, so they're like, "Well, we're driving through from Florida up to Pennsylvania," and they're like, "We have this map where we're going to stop," and they're like, "You guys were on the list." I'm like, "Well, come in." We're not going to ever turn anybody away that takes the time.
3 a.m. and I'm here for a beer.
That takes the time to stop by the brewery. So they got a tour, and they hung out for a while, and we gave them, they had a couple samples, nothing crazy, and then they moved on. So it's cool to see that we are in fact on that map, that people do want to make us a destination spot.
When I go to an event somewhere out of state, I always stop at the microbrew. I always make a point to stop at a distributor where I can find those local brews because it's something you don't get normally. And so I fill up the trunk and bring it back to share with my friends.
I have seen that.
Yeah, it's like here's what they're doing in Ohio. Here's this cool beer from Akron, Ohio.
If we can get travelers to spend half what you spend on beer, the state will skyrocket in revenue.
Absolutely.
And we're the same way. We have a woman that helps us with some of our accounting, and she made the mistake of texting us all the breweries in group text message. She was in Nashville, so it was just bam, bam, bam list. Bring me this. Bring me this. Bring me. I'll pay you when you get back. Because we're all the same way. We want to drink different beer. We can drink. We love our beer. We think it's the best beer we make. But it's nice to taste what other people are doing, see what else is going on in the market. But we're the same way, man. We'll go out of town and I'll come back. My wife's like, stop buying so much beer. I'm like, well, it's not all for me.
I've got to fill the new building we put out back.
I'm like, the closet is full, because I literally have a closet that's just full of just beer that I'm aging.
It's a walk-in.
It pretty much is. It's under the stairs. It's dark. It keeps temperature. So it's where I store my beer up. She's like, that is full. You don't have anywhere else to put it.
It's a speakeasy.
It is.
Well, the microbrew is just, I guess, a continuation of folks who have homebrewed for years and years. And so folks try to make a good quality tasting beer. And that's, I guess, what Straight to Ale is all about.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you mentioned homebrew, because April 25th, you guys are invited. We are doing we're calling it Ales and Tales. We're doing like an in-house homebrew fest with employees. And we're gonna have a crawfish boil tied in.
Oh yeah.
So I'm a home brewer. I haven't actually gotten to brew in a couple of years now. But half our employees don't brew. They've never brewed, or they've done it and they just don't have time now because the brewery, the actual job, keeps them busy. Even our brewers don't get to play that much. We've got a schedule. These beers have to go out. So we came up with this idea that we're gonna do an in-house homebrew fest. So we allowed everybody to submit a recipe. They could come in and brew it themselves, or they could get one of the brewers to help them with it, or they could just have the brewer do it for them. So we're going to have, I think it's 24 just one-off beers. People get to come in and vote. You know, you get a free little taster glass, get some crawfish, taste the beers, vote on which one. We're saying you get bragging rights for the year, which if you've ever met the guys at Strict-Ale, means a lot to those guys.
Yeah.
You get bragging rights. But ideally what we'll do is the winner, as long as it's, because there's a couple really crazy ones in there that we just couldn't afford to do large scale, that we'll put in production next year. That we'll actually do a big batch of it.
Well, there's actually, I've received this week a Facebook message. You all have an event on Facebook about that.
Yeah.
And so I've liked it, and I plan on going on April 25.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be great. Everybody's beers that were done have been, it goes from, I just did a honey rye pale ale, to our marketing girl that runs our Facebook did a peanut butter banana porter. I got to try that today. It's fantastic. It sounds so weird, but I got to taste it carved. It's fantastic.
So will it be the first 1,000 people in the door?
Well, so we we're still small, so we only could afford 300 glasses. So up to 300 people get a free glass and stuff, and hopefully there's enough crawfish. We plan on
But only 2. I know I've got a personal invite.
Yes,
That's
you
right.
guys, you guys could be VIP.
I like it.
Hey, all right.
Hey, honey, I finally made it. I'm somebody.
They like me. They really like me. Yeah, April 25th at Straight to L. Like their Facebook post. It's going around now. Plan to get there early. What time does it start?
3 o'clock. 3 o'clock normal time.
That's a great time to eat crawfish.
Yeah. And so you've got you've homebrewed. You've now with your job there at Straight to L, you don't have the time. Where do you see now in the future in Alabama this thing about allowing more access to microbrews with people? Would it be more access for sales at the brewery itself?
You know, it's funny. I don't know if you AL.com just did an article on a new brewery coming up called Green Bus. He's a personal friend of ours, great guy. Every time he comes in, he's like, I want to open a brewery. No, don't do it. Do you like your life? And he's like, yeah. We're like, then don't open a brewery because you won't have one after that.
Yeah.
But it's coming along. There's more and more. We're all for it. If you go to other markets, you see hundreds of breweries in states. We're behind on that. So the more the
Alabama rates like near the top though, don't they?
Well, we're getting there.
In
We're getting
quality.
there. In the South, the top 100 list, it's kind of nice. It's us and good people.
There
In
you
the
go.
top 10, we kind of like that.
And you are good people too, so take that.
And they're good people.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to buy what I call NASCAR
Oh,
beer.
well,
I'm
that's
buying
it.
something local. I'm going to Straight to L today, and I'm buying some beer from Matt Broadhurst and the good folks at Straight to L.
Fantastic.
Bye
See
now.
y'all later.
Get it.
The Ford. In 10 years of bike riding, I've never had that.
So, what'd you do?
I went home. It's all I could do.
Rides over.
Yeah, right. And that was it. I was with
Great
Chris Harper
story.
down in Guntersville. I felt like an idiot. It was like a mountain bike tire. Yeah. Welcome back, everybody, to another segment here on Swim Bike Run Alabama, sponsored by Straight to L. I'm Parker Edmiston with my co-host Doug Tinkham. And we're here today with a special guest, and that is Chris Levin from Bicycle Cove. Chris, thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you.
Last week you talked to us about the Aero Wheels, and this week we would like you to talk about the trend for wide tires and rims. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it segues nicely from Aero wheels into wide tires, because a lot of it started in the wide rim trend. It started with Aero wheels. As Aero wheels started to get deeper, they also started expanding the width of the rim. And the reason for that is, as the rim gets wider, it interfaces better with the tire, so your aerodynamics between tire and rim improves dramatically. And then the second trend with the wide tires, I guess it's probably been a couple of road seasons now where all the pros over in Europe started switching to 25 millimeter tires from 23, and they discovered that it's more comfortable because they can run slightly lower tire pressures and there's more of the tire on the ground at all times. and it was actually a little bit faster. And so,
How is it faster to have more of the tire on the ground?
So with more tire on the ground, you can roll over things easier. It's kind of like the whole 29-inch wheel mountain bike phenomenon. If it can roll over things easier and conform to the road better, it's going to roll a lot faster.
Really?
And so would that be better on a chip seal road, or just if you're not on a flat, completely flat, smooth surface, then that'd be better?
It will ultimately, yeah, it would definitely be best for unimproved roads or rougher rural roads, but ultimately it's better for any kind of scenario.
Now, do you need a wider rim to run a 25 millimeter wide tire?
No, most of your traditional road rims will hold up to a 28,
Oh,
so
okay.
not at all.
Now, is there a benefit to doing that? Or do you need the wider rim?
Not really, no. One thing you have to be careful with is as you go wider with the tire, if you're using a wide rim, sometimes it'll expand the tire beyond what it's actually measured at or labeled at. And so it could hit your frame. I know you had an experience with that recently, Parker.
You know, there's some things I tell you in confidence, you know. You don't have to point out the idiocy of some folks.
That was talking about the width, though. He's talking about the height.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how you did that.
Well, I'm an idiot. Okay,
That's
I
not
mean,
what I
you
was
got
implying.
Okay, well, I think you said it earlier during the break, Doug.
And I was not implying it.
Okay, yeah.
And so it's funny you say that though, Doug, because as the tire gets wider, it also gets taller because the volume increases. So a wide tire gets taller, wider rims make tires taller too.
So that's a little special something for you, Doug.
Yeah.
All right, so Chris, my misconception on tires is that you always wanted to go narrow,
That's what I thought.
and that you always
So
wanted to go
pump it up.
you know, and so I typically ride with 120 pounds of pressure. So am I wrong in doing that?
That is drastically getting different as they're discovering that with scientific testing, that as tire widths expand, so you go from 23 millimeters to 25, and you reduce your tire pressure, then you will have a more comfortable, faster ride.
Is it taking so long to get here because everybody had a firm belief in what we believed?
Yeah, if a lot of trends in road cycling, for example, and even triathlon, they start at the pro level and they kind of make their way down if they work. And I think a lot of these guys were just so set in their ways that,
Because this ain't rocket science.
no, it's not. I mean, it is. It's a very simple thing. And so, everyone thought, well, I had to stick with this particular tire width because it's I know it works. I win races on it. It works. And then everyone started trying to kind of change their tune a little bit and found out that, hey, this is actually a little bit more comfortable. And there's definitely a trend towards comfort being more important. And with comfort becomes more speed, more efficiency.
Well, I think for those of us that don't worry about the podium, except for setting it out for
Setting it
out for other people
And
to stand
putting it
on,
away after the
and
race.
putting it away. Comfort is what matters, because if you're out there on a bike for a couple, 2 or 3 hours, or a longer ride even than that, you want to feel comfortable. And so you can run. What would you suggest for someone that's going to do a 2-hour ride, and they're going to try the 25 width tire? What pound of pressure is good? Does that go by body weight?
Yeah, a lot of times it is going to go by weight, but I'll use myself as an example. I'm probably now about around 185, 190. I run 25 millimeter tires. I was running 28s, and I'm now running about 100 psi average between my two tires. I can't tell a difference, except it just feels better on the road. So, it says a max pressure of 120, but most people don't need to go anywhere beyond 105, 110, especially if they're going wider.
Well, I think our friend Jack Lovelady over in Scottsboro, I think he used to have like a Volstein or something tire that you could go up, I think, to 140 or 160
Yeah,
pounds.
tubulars will go up 160
You
or
can
so.
go crazy pressure on
Yeah.
tubulars, but a lot of that's just ratings. You don't have to go that high at all.
Yeah, I think comfort over anything else matters.
At this point in life,
At this
it
point in
sure
life,
does.
yeah.
Yeah, a little Pink
Yes.
Floyd.
Yeah. Wow, I just had a little flashback there. Doug. I'm sorry. Hey,
Is that the DEA?
wow. Hey, Chris, listen, if you guys want to go and talk tires and get in depth about what's best for your ride, go down and see Chris Levin at Bicycle Cove. Wealth of information, a great building there on 431 South. Chris, thanks for coming in today.
Yeah, thanks for letting me geek out, guys.
All right, see you next week.
Later, Chris. That was great, man.
Yeah,
Very
I love
interesting.
it. I love it. Welcome back, everybody, to another segment on Swim Bike Run Alabama. We're here on WTKI in Huntsville, WEKI in Decatur, brought to you, as always, by Straight to Hell Brewery, the finest beer known to man. This segment we have from Bicycle Cove's women's cycling team, Suzanne Erickson. Suzanne, thanks for being here. Last week you were here and you were talking about the team time trial that you have coming up on May 3rd at the Lake Gunnersville Triathlon. And you're telling us a little bit about the training that you're doing with your group of women and about how you are becoming comfortable with that. What do you suggest for these folks who aren't time trialists and certainly aren't team time trialists? How do they get comfortable doing this?
Parker, first, I think we've got a caller on line 1.
Well, let's put them on hold and we'll get them after this.
All right.
So back to your question. I think it's important if someone's wanting to form a team, you have got to get out and practice together. That's the number one thing. Just come up with some sort of a plan for how you're going to ride the 10 miles in the race.
10 miles a long way.
10 miles is kind of a long way. You need to come across that finish line with 3 riders whose times are going to be combined for your final time. And we've gone through a few renditions of the order of cyclists, how we're going to start, who's following whom. We've moved it around several times. So
how many times are you switching the pull, I guess?
Right.
Would that be the right term?
It is. So we started with a minute-long pulls, and really what's going to work best is anywhere from 30 seconds to 1 minute. I would
What's
say
the
no
signal?
longer than 1 minute. Well, that person in the front, like
Pulling off.
when they fall over off
Yeah.
the bicycle, they're
That's the
kind of
signal.
done pulling.
So there's no wrist
Yeah.
flick or...
Yeah. Well, no. What?
The
And
chicken wing that says...
you know, it's interesting because each person kind of has their own style on the bike.
Yeah.
And what I do when I'm ready to kind of pull off the front is I turn and look over my left shoulder. So I now know that that person behind me knows that. Like, she was completely ready. Like, she had picked up after the few times of practicing that was my kind of like, I'm getting over.
Well, it's important, I guess, to look over your left shoulder because you're pulling out into
Traffic.
or roadway. So you want to make sure, number one, that there's no cars coming.
Right.
But two, just that glance over your shoulder lets the person behind you know that you're coming out.
Right.
Right.
Even more critical, though, is as I'm dropping back, I've got to grab onto the back of that line. So I've got 3 people that are riding in a line fast. I'm not being pulled because I've moved out of the draft. I'm slowing. I'm also exhausted because I've maybe just, pulled them, and I'm backing up. And what happened today, twice, unfortunately, was I dropped back, but then I couldn't get over and get on the back of them because they were off like a shot. And next thing you know, I'm back like 25 yards. Well, once you get gapped
you're done.
from the line, on your own, you can't catch back up to them.
There'll be another team coming. You just saddle
That's
up
what
with
I'm
them.
hoping.
Well, you see it on TV all the time, even like on a Peloton, that you see this one straggler back there 20 yards, and you say, well, just get up there. Well, you can.
Yeah, that's when you hold on to the car.
Yeah, you can't. That would be great. Would you be willing to drive alongside?
I will. And
Okay.
we'll be out there
Okay.
heckling, cheering.
Yeah,
Now,
it's
last
pretty fun to
year,
watch.
as
Last
Doug,
year, Suzanne started this thing with a handkerchief, remember?
did.
It was like a James Dean movie.
It was a flag.
Okay.
Yeah.
she
it
dropped
was.
the flag.
She
It
did
was
drop the
good.
flag.
It was pretty fun to watch, really. It was really fun to watch.
Last year,
Very fun.
the key, I think, to the race were the number of times that a teammate was dropped within the first 2 miles of the event.
I think you said all the teams.
I think everyone
Everyone
lost one team
except
member.
not Team Dead Legs. They only had 3 riders and they finished with all 3. It was Eric Broyles, Donnie Holmes, and Alex Clark.
Who won last year?
They took second, and I believe they took second to Chuck Branson, his team. And it was maybe he was riding with Jeff Schertz.
If the women come there this year as they're going to come and dominate,
They're going to be more organized than men.
I'm saying they're
what they do.
probably odds-on favorite to win.
They're my
the-
favorite.
The entire, yeah. So, Suzanne, you going to do a celebratory dance at the finish line?
I'm hoping to take a
Trent?
few deep breaths as I come across the finish line.
And then a little straight to hell.
Hey, thanks for being here, Suzanne, and we'll see you next week, everyone, on Swim Bike Run Alabama.